They're going to get 9 cards too. Actually, you know what? We should probably put them there on the bottom. And we're going to expand these so we can see what we're working with here. Guess we'll just put the jihadist cards there. That'll give us some space to take ours, flip them over, and stick them on the map. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and spread these out so we can see what we've got to work with. And it's looking rather interesting here for the opening hand. Actually got some pretty good cards here on the opening hand. Got a couple cards that are jihadist events, so I'm just going to kind of stack those by themselves. Those are events that we want to be careful how we play. And then we have some US events, and we don't have any unaligned events. Each card is going to have an alignment. It's going to be aligned with either the US or association, I should say. It's going to be either associated with the US or the jihadists, or it'll be unassociated. The association is indicated by color of the ops value in the upper right left-hand corner. Green for jihadist, yellowish tan, I guess you could say, for the US, and gray for unassociated. If you play an ops card for the event triggers. If you play it for the ops value, but the card is aligned with your or associated with your opponent, then the event would also trigger, just like in Twilight Struggle. So if you played that game, there's a very, very similar mechanic here. If you look at the top of the map, we got a sequence of play track, and the sequence of play always begins with a jihadist action phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to start things off by playing from the jihadist hand. In the solitaire game, jihadist cards are always placed and removed from the top of a stack. So they're going to play these one by one, and so we'll go ahead and start here with jihadist card number 1 off the top of the stack and see what it is. And the card is hijab. Once you look at the card, once the card's been revealed, you look at the jihadist activities flowchart. You have to determine whether the card's going to be used for events or for ops. Looking at the card itself, the card event says, play if no country is under Islamist rule. At the beginning of the game, Afghanistan is under Islamist rule, so the event is actually not playable. So looking at the flowchart, the first question asks is this a playable non-US event? The answer is no. Is it a playable US event? No. Then it asks you, is major jihad possible? Success possible? Right now, no jihad is possible because the only cells that are on the map are already in an Islamist ruled country, so you're not going to do any jihads there. So we can skip major jihad and the minor jihad question there on the flowchart. So the next question is, are cells available? The answer is yes, there are cells on the track, so the instruction is for us to recruit. Looking at the bottom half of the flowchart there, on the fold-out of your player aid card, it asks you, where are you going to do this? So we're doing a recruit operation, so we're going to look at a series here of questions or tests, and we're going to take the leftmost test that applies. The first one is in a regime change country where cell or troops minus cells is greater than or equal to 5. There are no regime change countries. Second test is in an Islamist ruled country that has cells that are less than twice the op value. Well, there are 4 cells in Afghanistan, but twice of the op value of the card played would be 6. So that's where we're going to go ahead and put them. It's going to go into an Islamist ruled country, and since there's only 1 on the map, that's where we're going to put it. A recruit action will place 1 cell for each op value spent. And you can only recruit in countries where you already have cells or a cadre. So Afghanistan is really the only place where we can do anything right now for the jihadists. So that's where 3 cells are going to be recruited. The card is then discarded. You note that the card says remove on it. That's only if the event actually triggers, which it did not. So the card is discarded. And we move the play sequence marker to jihadist card 2. If you have no familiarity with the game, one unique aspect of this game is that cards are played in sets of 2. So each player is going to play 2 cards, fully resolve them one at a time, but back to back. So jihadist card 2 is revealed. Now here's going to be an interesting one. This is Danish cartoons, and looking at the event, there is no precondition to the event. If we look at the flow chart, very first test is playable non-US event. Yes. Does the event recruit or place a cell? Actually, it doesn't. So the instruction now is to simply play the event. The event here stipulates that the U.S. gets to select Scandinavia's posture. Well, the U.S. posture is hard, so that's what we want to make Scandinavia. So we're going to go ahead and mark their posture as hard. Now there are 2 hard countries and 0 soft, so we're going to slide the world hard marker over to the 2 box on the U.S. GWAT relations track. Then, continuing on to the event text, then the jihadists place an available plot 1, or if any Islamist rule country exists on the map, that is, any available plot in a non-Islamist rule Muslim country. So here's what's going to happen. In the solitaire game, there's some special instructions here, but the card text is going to be able to be resolved completely. We're going to draw a random plot marker, and so I'm going to drag one here off of the available plot stack, and it's going to give me a random draw. And this plot marker is going to go into a non-Islamist rule but Muslim country. So what country do we test? Well, to find out that, we have to look at the where part of the jihadist activities flowcharts, and we're going to look at the plot options there. As much as possible in the U.S. Well, the card stipulates not U.S., so we're going to ignore that. We'll skip that one. Prestige low, no. Abu Sayyaf is not in play, so, and furthermore, Philippines is an ineligible target anyways. There is a possibility of putting it in countries with troops. Now we have 2 countries with troops, so those are our priority according to the flowchart. So we can select Gulf states or Saudi, and they are both of equal value. So looking at the flowchart here, there is some plot priorities. If you're placing it via event, you're going to place it in a good country, then a fair country, then a poor country. So that's how we're going to break the tie between Saudi and the Gulf states. Saudi's poor, Gulf states is fair, so according to plot priorities, it's going to go into the Gulf states. So we'll go ahead and put the plot marker into the Gulf states. Now, ordinarily, to place a plot, you have to have a cell in the country to place the plot, but this is an event, and the event does not stipulate that it's an actual plot operation. This is simply an event, and the events can bend the normal rules of the game. So that's the event. But continuing on to the jihadist activities flowchart, after it says play event, looking at the top half of the flowchart, it says after it says play event, it asks you, is it an unassociated event? If so, then you're going to use the op value of the card. So in a 2-player game, you wouldn't do this, but in the solitaire game, it's a way to make the solitaire AI a little bit more tough. So what's going to happen is we're going to go from unassociated event, yes. Major jihad success possible, no. Jihad possible in good or fair, no. Cells available, yes. So we can recruit. Looking at the recruit instructions, however, it says we're going to first look at a regime change country. We don't have one yet. Islamist rule with cells present in that country less than twice the ops. Well, there's too many cells in Afghanistan, so we can't put them there. That condition's not met. So then it's going to ask you for recruiting in a non-Islamist rule, non-regime change country with highest recruit success role possible. There aren't any others. So what do we do now? According to the flowchart, there's no possible place to recruit. So according to the solitaire rules, you're going to go to a special operation known as radicalization. So looking at your flowcharts, on the top half, there's a green box that says radicalization. And so the very first thing, we're going to resolve these unused ops from top to bottom. So there's only one op to spend here, so we're just going to use the top line. It says first op automatically places 1 cell into a random country as long as the track has any cells. So we're going to roll for a random country. To do this, what we do is we roll 2 dice, a black die and a tan die, and we use the random country matrix. So here comes the die roll for tan, and for black we have a 3-6. So 3-6 is going to be the Philippines. So we're going to take 1 cell off the funding track per the radicalization here, and it's going to go into the Philippines. It's automatically going to go there. We don't have to dice for it like we would with recruiting. Then once it goes into the Philippines, as soon as you do anything in a country that's unmarked, you have to test it. So we have to